Welcome to the No Risk Business Performance Podcast, where we discuss all things very small business, from the challenges to solutions to failures and victories. I'm your host, Judah Boulay, and I'm ready to roll, so let's do this. Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the No Risk Business Performance Podcast. Today, I have a guest, Eric Williams. Eric owns 212 Consulting. He does marketing, messaging, and leadership consulting. Eric, I've also been a client of his. He has helped me tremendously understand the marketing realm. So Eric, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time to be on and share with us some of your wisdom. I did a very vague job of introducing yourself, so introducing you. So take a few moments and introduce yourself much better than I can do, and explain the services you provide.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Judah. No, I really appreciate it. I appreciate any opportunity to be able to give any sort of value to business owners, entrepreneurs, things like that. And so I think the basis of what I do is, if you think about it this way, for most people, they got into business not to run a business. They got into business because they were passionate about something. And so whether it's sports performance or coaching others, or, helping people with their fitness goals, you probably got in that business because you loved doing that thing. And then I guess the pains of business come up, where it's like, well, how do I market the thing? How do I lead people? Because that's not why I got into business. And so sometimes it takes an outside coach, it takes an outside perspective to help you talk about the things that you do in a way that are going to get your customers and your potential clients to want to engage. And then on the leadership development side, again, so many entrepreneurs, so many small business owners, so many people get into business because of a specialty area of a product or service they were passionate about, and they don't know the first thing about business. And so they start making all these mistakes, and they kind of learn from those mistakes, and some do well and some don't. And so I come alongside businesses and help them out in basically whatever area that they're looking for, so that they can grow their business and continue to do the things that they love.
Awesome. So now I heard the story on a different podcast, but being a former science geek, still a science geek, but former science teacher and grad student and all that. 212, where did you get the name for it, and the reasons why, and how does that relate to like the services you provide?
Yeah. So, it's probably similar to you. If you get into business and now it's like, well, I need a name. And I just sat there and I was like going over and over and over again, this about what name I would like. And then, came across the concept of 212 degrees is the temperature at which water boils. And, I just read here that like the concept is at 211 degrees, you've got a pot of hot water. It's just a pot of hot water, but that one extra degree makes all the difference in the world. It can power steam engines. It can create electricity, all of these things just from 1 degree. And so similar to what I just said, I love coming alongside business owners who are operating at 211 degrees already. And so they're ready to go. And they just need that one little push, whether it's marketing help, messaging help, website help, leadership development help, whatever that one little thing is, to help them go and be a force multiplier and exponentially increase in the areas that they make an impact.
Excellent. So what if you have a business that's at, say, 150 degrees? How can you help them?
Yeah, well, a lot of times, at that point, helping, it takes a lot more, but really it's about, for me, it's the mindset of whoever the business owner is. I do work with a lot of small businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs. My family owned small businesses growing up, and so it's really been close to my heart. Went to business school. My major was entrepreneurship, small and family business. And so really, I understand that, like, you have this heart and passion as a business owner to do well, because your family's depending on you, because the people that you employ, their families are depending on you. And so even though your business might be at 150 degrees or so, if that heart, if that fire, if that passion within you is at 211, that's really more so what I do to try and figure out who the best people to work with are. Because I find that if you've got that determination, sometimes it's just implementing small things, small little tweaks that are going to help push you in the right direction. And in other cases, sometimes you have to have the hard conversations with people and say, hey, maybe it's time to look in a different direction. And, as much as that hurts, I've had former clients that really appreciate not wasting more time going in a bad direction so they can refocus and go in the right direction.
Awesome. Okay. So now you work with, I first found out about you through, you were on the Level Method podcast,
Yep.
and we have a mutual friend in Scott Ramage,
Mhm.
who owns a great company, VAs for Gyms. Um, what, so most of my questions are going to relate to the fitness industry. All right. So what are some of the common flaws you see that a lot of gyms, whether it's a CrossFit gym, whether it's a regular strength and conditioning facility, whether
Mhm.
it's like a yoga studio, whatever. What do you see are commonalities and flaws in the fitness industry
Yeah,
when it
great.
comes to the things that you specialize in?
Sure. I think I'll give you three and then we'll go through them. But the first one is making your brand the hero and not making your clients the hero. The second one is wrapping up your messaging in confusing insider language that applies to you and people in your industry, but not to your clients. And then ultimately, that third one would be, follow up with individuals and how do you help them progress throughout their goals. So if we go to that first one, it's making your own personal brand the hero. And I love kind of lampooning fitness centers and CrossFit gyms because they always come up with the hard tough guy names. We're Mayhem and we're Spartan Fitness and all these kind of iron steel gym and just like all this kind of stuff, which is great. But identifying what is your messaging getting across? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to say, hey, we are the coolest gym and you need to join our gym? Or are you putting your clients in that hero seat to say, hey, we are the guide that's going to help you achieve your fitness goals? And so there are plenty of gyms out there that talk about them being the best or their current members being the best, as opposed to talking about the difference that they make in the lives of their clients. And so I would just recommend, if you own a gym, if you own a fitness center, don't talk as much about you've got a former NFL person doing your strength and conditioning, or any kind of that stuff. Literally look and see what is it that your client who's coming in the door every day, or a potential client, what is it that they want, and how can you position yourselves as a guide to help them get better. So that'd be the first one, is that hero guide flip. The second one that I see a lot, and this is, and again, I'm a CrossFit guy, so I don't know what your audience, some of you may love that, some of you kind of, I know how that feels. But I got into CrossFit maybe 4 years ago now, and I used to be CrossFit hater. I was just like, I was traditional gym bro guy, sports and fitness conditioning. I was a long distance runner. I didn't want to have anything to do with any of these kipping pull-ups and all these kind of Olympic lifts and stuff like that. Forget it. And what was really confusing for me was they would use words like AMRAP and Metcon and EMOM and all of these little, things. It's like, I have no idea what the heck you're talking about. Power clean, snatch, squat this, squat that. And so immediately that puts up a barrier that you are communicating things that your customers don't understand. So there's an author, his name is Lee Lefevre, and he talked about this concept called the curse of knowledge. So we as owners, or we as people who are in the business, we know our product or service at a level 8, 9, or 10, let's say.
Mhm.
But your average fitness goer, your average fitness enthusiast, the person who wants to go couch to 5K, they're walking into your business with a knowledge level of about a 2 or a 3.
Mhm.
And if you want to make that sale, you've got to dumb it down for them to that point. Now, at this point, for those of you that actually coach other people, or if you're an actual fitness instructor, anything like that, you know that to be true. You know that when you are coaching someone, when you're going through a movement, the most effective coaches will break it down to component parts so that their clients
Right.
can understand it. Well, why don't we do the same thing in our marketing,
Mhm.
right? If you're a CrossFit gym, you already have to overcome so many objections in your potential customer's brain because they go CrossFit. Immediately, they're going to start thinking everything they've ever heard about CrossFit, or they go CrossFit, that's just where you get hurt. CrossFit, that's confusing. CrossFit, that's for elite athletes only, right?
Mhm.
And now you have to overcome all of those things because you're not talking about it in the right way. So
Right.
reducing all that confusing language, making it language that your client understands. Don't write your website or your social media to impress other muscle heads and other gym owners. Write it to the client that you want to bring in. every single day. So those would be the two. And then that third one is follow-up contact. I'll say this from personal experience. I got my 8-year-old boy and my 9-year-old boy involved in a kids CrossFit class because I wanted to, but it wasn't at the gym I was going to. It was at a different gym. I Googled them. I Googled, CrossFit kids in my area, and this one popped up. And it was impossible to figure out how to contact these people,
Mhm.
right? Like on their website, there was no, there's a phone number, but yeah, I'm not calling them, right? I have no idea when they're going to be there, anything else like that. I sent them an email, no response. I found them on Instagram, sent them a direct message, no response. Found them on Facebook, direct message, no response. And so what I call this is hiding the cash register. You make it impossible for people to know how to give you money, how to do business with you. So if you want to succeed, especially as a gym, three big things. Make your client the hero. You're the guide that helps them win the day. The second thing is speak in a way that they are going to understand and that they would identify with. And the third is don't make it hard for them to do business with you. That would be like the easiest thing. If you put a contact us button that went directly to somebody whose sole job was to respond to these people, I guarantee you would make money this month. So that's kind of breaking it down. Those are just three. I know I covered a lot there. So
Right. But yeah, but those are three very easy and implementable changes that someone can make. And they have a high return on really a minimal investment of time, because
right.
really it's tweaking a couple things on a website, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and being available.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
And part of it is too, they're already telling you what you want, what they want to be told. So talk to your clients, talk to the people that are raving fans of your business, and just ask them questions. Hey, what were you looking for when you came to the gym? And what would you say to somebody who is looking to sign up? They're going to give you language that's going to be better than anything you could come up with in your, in the fitness realm, because that's your client and that's what they're attracted to. So use them.
right. So now, does this matter, this strategy, whether your gym is in the United States, Canada, Iceland, Europe, like Europe, the Middle East? Do these things matter based on your geographic location? Like, does this messaging stuff apply basically globally?
I mean, obviously, there's going to be some cultural nuances depending on where you're at, and you have to adjust your messaging to who you're trying to reach. That would be the biggest thing: is who is it that you're trying to reach now? But I don't think that that matters what nationality, what they are, anything else like that. The bottom line is everybody wants something. Everybody wants something when they're walking into your gym. Everybody wants something when they come to your website. And most of us get it wrong. And we assume we know what they want, but we don't really know. And so for some people, especially one of the reasons I like CrossFit is because I moved to a new city and I knew the two places I was going to meet people would be if I found some, church, religious organization, and if I found a CrossFit gym, because I knew that I could go somewhere where I'd be able to meet people and make connections. Now, if you were to ask a CrossFit gym owner, probably low on the list is meet people and make connections. But that was one of my primary drivers for walking into that gym. For other people, they might have different needs, wants, desires. And unless you're speaking to those needs, wants, and desires, you're going to lose people every time, because people don't buy the best services out there. They buy the ones that they can understand the fastest. And so as soon as I see somebody that says, hey, we're a fitness community where we're making connections and we're helping you with your individualized fitness goals, man, okay, great, I'm in. I get that. As opposed to constantly varied functional fitness to help you crush every workout. Like constantly varied, I don't know what the heck that means, right? And crush every workout, what is that? What is that? You might have somebody that's going, hey, it's May right now as we're recording this, almost June. I want my body ready for beach body season, right? Great. If that's who your target market is, said, we make you look better in your Instagram photos. We make you want to take your shirt off, right? Like if
Right,
that's
right,
who you're trying to reach, use those words, because that person is not thinking about their O2 max. They're not thinking about, all of these other, I don't want to lower my resting heart rate. I literally just want to be able to take my shirt off without feeling embarrassed, right? And so
right,
that's what they're trying to do. Speak in that language.
right. Um, yeah, it's very interesting. And one of the things that I learned was when like, because as a business owner, every business owner goes through a learning curve and a learning process. And my original website was bogged down with way too much information that I thought was really important. And someone had to convince me that like nobody gives a damn about who the coaches are.
Right.
And, you know, like, and, you know, just like, so, you know, and I think, and that was like a hard concept at first for me to swallow. It was just like, well, wait, nobody cares about like how qualified my coaching staff is. And it's like, no. So, you know, and so I think it's just really hard. So how do you deal with like that pushback where, you know, I guess, you know, maybe is that, I guess, ego driven, you know, from my own perspective, you know, or
Yeah, I mean,
is that the way it just used to be? You know, like
in
that's
some
the way.
cases, for sure. Like for some people, it's ego driven. For some people, they build a business because they want to be important. They build a business because they want significance in their life. They build a business because, you know, quite frankly, their 20-year high school reunion's coming up and they want to make sure that they can stick it in the face of everybody else who doubted them. Like, great. Okay, great. But I'm going to put those people aside. For the most part, it's not understanding the delivery method for each of your marketing and messaging platforms. So the homepage of your website is not for the spot where you talk about how great your coaches are and how you have former D1 athletes and blah 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 blah. The homepage of your website is literally to get somebody to click the button that says schedule an appointment, that says sign up, that says whatever is going to get that to the next level. So many people have that kitchen sink mentality where they throw everything at their website or everything at their social media or everything at their explainer video that they post on there. When in reality, understand people are going to your website because they want to know where you're located. So if your address isn't there, or how to get in touch with you, right? That's what they're doing. How do they actually procure your services? So like I said, like how do they get in touch with you? How do they make sure that they can book an appointment? What are those? How do you make their life better? These are very like Maslow hierarchy of needs. These are the lower level pieces of that to try and get them in the door. Now, once I'm in the spot where I go, okay, I think no risk sports performance is right for me. They seem like they're okay. They seem like they can handle it. Now I need to know, do they know what they're talking about? So that second level of communication, yeah, of course, back it up. So I know that you're not just guy working at the van down by the river and just, something like that. I need to know you're legit. But that's not the first thing I'm trying to figure out. I need to know, do you understand the problem I have? And can you help make my life better? And how do I actually get in touch with you?
Right. So now is this consistent from business to business? Does it matter if it's a gym or a restaurant or a boutique shop? Like how universal is this messaging and
Yeah.
this messaging dynamic?
I mean, the issue is that this messaging dynamic, we use a framework from an organization called StoryBrand, and the whole point of that was they broke down marketing and messaging into using the power of story. And the reason why you do that is because our brains, at all times, we are so distractible because our brains are trying to do two things every single all day. We're trying to survive and thrive, and we're trying to reduce the expenditure of calories. So I'm trying to figure out how can I survive and thrive throughout the day. And for most of us living in, first world countries, that like survive part is taken care of. So we're thinking thrive, thrive, thrive. How do I make my life better? How do I make my life better? But you're lazy because you want to conserve those calories so you can be ready for whatever's next. So that's why we daydream. If you think about it, a lot of your listeners right now are probably multitasking. They're probably daydreaming and they missed what I just said because we're trying to figure out where do we need to seek that next value. But why is it that you can sit through and binge watch an entire season of some Netflix show? Or you can listen to podcast after podcast after podcast, or you can, like my wife, when we go on vacation, she brings a stack of books and she'll go through every single book and won't get distracted once. It's because that power of story is so ingrained in us to trick our brains into thinking that it's valuable because we're hooked into listening to what's next. So when you use this framework that says there's a hero out there, that you have a desire, that you're trying to get something, and you have a problem that's keeping you from getting that desire. And then guess what? A third party comes in, that's your brand. A guide comes in that has empathy, that says, I understand what you're going through. I know what you want. And they have authority that says, I know how to get you what you want. And then they give them a clear plan of how to get what they want and call them to action. And they say, here's the success that you could experience when you do that. And here's the failure I'm trying to help you avoid. And when you can walk through that simple process, it helps people understand what you do quicker. And when they do that, they understand how you help them thrive, and they can conserve calories while they're doing it. So they're going to pick you over the competition, no matter
Okay.
what you sell.
Okay. Interesting. So I've read the Story Brand book. Now, the role of the villain, right? How
Yeah.
does that fit in?
Yeah, so there's a villain in story. Now, in the marketing, I try not to force the villain if it doesn't make sense. But if you can find an easy villain, it's a good way for people to conserve calories when they're trying to understand what it is that you're fighting against. So one of the best that I love is Allstate, right? Allstate protects you from mayhem. And so like Allstate protects you from mayhem. They're an insurance company, and they said the villain in your life is mayhem, and we protect you from it. And so now mayhem might look different for me than it does for you.
Mhm.
Mayhem for me might be auto accident stuff. Mayhem for you might be home insurance stuff or life insurance stuff. And so they've clearly put out there a great villain that kind of summarizes every potential problem that they help you solve. And so when you can say, hey, there's a villain out there, and it's called, it's called, I don't know. Oh, well, okay, I'll bring up this example. So I worked with a client, and actually the first CrossFit gym I went to, and it's my favorite ever. It's the Standard CrossFit in Toledo, Ohio. And one of the marketing messages that the owner came up with is, we make COVID resilient humans, right? So he put the villain out there as COVID, this pandemic, this global pandemic that I'm sure all of your listeners in the fitness industry understand. Like, we're shouting from the rooftops, let's focus more on how we can increase people's health and fitness. Okay, so they pointed at a villain right there, and they said, here's the villain, and we're going to help you become more resilient to things like that.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So, and I think that, many gyms, the villains that really is easy for, I think, every gym or every conditioning studio, even for sports performance. Like the main villain in sports performance is injury, right?
Yep.
Or not making the team, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. The
Not
bench,
being good
right?
enough to be recognized by coach,
Or
or
yeah, imagine your
or
villain
getting.
is just the bench, and you're like, hey, that seat on the so think about this commercial for a sports performance. I'm going to give it to your audience. Somebody's going to make it, and they're going to make a bunch of money off of it. But you zoom in, and it's just a slow zoom on an empty seat on the bench, and you have a voiceover that describes that as the villain, right? Because nobody wants to be sitting on the bench. No parent wants to look and see their kids sitting on the bench. But guess what? If they were faster, if they moved better, if they had better conditioning, they would spend less time on the bench and more time on the court. And now everyone who's ever been an athlete is going, yeah, that's what I want. How do I get that? Give me that. Give me that. Right. And you
Right.
didn't talk at all about your methods. You didn't talk at all about quickness, about speed, about any of that stuff. You just said you don't want to spend any more time on your butt deserves to be on the field, not on the bench. What? Sign me up.
Right. No, that's awesome. And that goes for everything. Like, like there's so many things that, from my work with you, you've helped educate me on how to really dial in my messaging,
Sure.
for my sports performance gym, as well as for, you know, um, which has carried over to tremendous benefit for me in all aspects of my life. So,
Sure.
and the messaging just doesn't stop at the website, correct?
No, no, no. Messaging is everywhere. Messaging, even to the now, this is the basis. It's like what I help clients do. One of the first things I help them do is come up with a one-liner. Some of you think of it as an elevator pitch, anything else like that. But it's an answer to the question. If I said, Judah, what do you do? You meet somebody, say, what do you do? That is a key question, because everybody has a mental Rolodex. For our younger listeners, mental contact list, right? If you don't remember the old Rolodex, right? Everyone has a mental Rolodex, and when they assign you a spot in that Rolodex, you want them to put you in the right spot. So if Judah, if you said to me, hey, Eric, what do you do? And I said, oh man, ooh, it's complicated, I do a lot. Immediately, you're tuning out. Your Rolodex is closing. You're saying, this guy's complicated. He can't help me. He can't help anybody else that I know. If I start to drone on about the things that I do, or if I start to make it boring, you start closing that Rolodex, and you don't listen. So what you want is, you want a clear one-liner that's going to explain the problem that you solve, how you solve it, and how you make your customer's life better. And then right away, I either know, because I've now put Judah and no risk sports performance in my mental Rolodex in the right spot, And it's either that's going to apply to me, or the next time I hear somebody say the same problem that you said you solve, I go, oh, I know who solves that problem. You want to be the go-to guy or the go-to girl, right? It's that thing that when somebody says, yeah, you know what, I'm getting a little bit older and I got the little spare tire around here and it's getting harder to pick up my kids. I just heard somebody say, be able to play with your kids longer, or you lose that spare tire. As soon they go, oh, that's such and such a gym. You should give them a call. I heard they're great at that. You want that to fit in that Rolodex, and so that messaging piece goes from your website. It goes to your face-to-face interactions. It goes to your emails. Anything that you can use, and your staff should be repeating that same thing too. So you have that consistent message.
Awesome. Um, yeah, it's all great. And like, so, for my sports performance business, I make you a better athlete,
Mhm.
right? It's very simple. That's what we do. And for my business coaching, it's, it's coaching that helps gym owners succeed at their business, right? So
Yep.
both things, very direct, very clear, and it tells what we do, and there's no
Right.
discrepancy. And even, like, I was looking at your website earlier, but you probably know it off the top of your head. What's your tagline?
That's a great question. I haven't looked at my you got
But
me on that
it's
one.
so, but
But
all right. So I threw you a trick question.
I
I'm
help you
sorry.
do no, it's okay. I
Marketing
help you do what
solutions,
you do
leadership
better.
development to grow your business, right? There's
Yeah.
no like, Scott's like, oh, check out Eric at 212 Consulting. So I went to
Right.
212 Consulting, and it's like marketing solutions and leadership development to grow your business. All
Yeah.
right. Like, how are you going to do that? It says clarify your message, develop your people, stop wasting money.
Yeah.
Boom. All right. I know exactly what I'm getting. I know exactly what I'm setting up for. And there's right below that is schedule a call. And it's, super easy. And, it's very clear in terms of like what you offer. Right.
Right.
And, like, and there's so many gyms where there's, I'm on Instagram a lot recently just because, I just finished selling a CrossFit gym,
Mhm.
and I'm, in the process of, looking, at businesses and stuff. And I'm looking at all these websites, and the messaging is it's so about them and what
Right.
they can provide. So it's very product focused and not client focused.
Yeah. Yeah, and I used to work at a fitness center. I mean, that was like my first job, as I worked at a local fitness center. That had a pool, so I was a lifeguard, all that other kind of stuff. But then, as people started to see that, like, I was pretty outgoing and capable of talking to people, they started having me do the tours. And one of the things that the executive director here at this particular fitness center, he said something that I'll never forget. He said, "When you give a tour, do not point out the treadmill. Don't point out the treadmill." Because what we do is we end up giving a tour in our facility, and we'll go, okay, right there, that's the treadmill, those are our free weights, those are the ellipticals, those are the windows, that's the water fountain, that's the bathroom. Like, duh, Eric, I know what that stuff is. Don't be stupid. So when I would give a tour, I would talk about the benefits that they could receive when they signed up. I would talk about some of the life change stories that we had, or I would point out individuals that I recognize, right? Hey, over there, that's Judah. Hey, did you know Judah? He was this kind of athlete. Now he's this kind of athlete, right? Those sorts of things, because people, they're not dumb when they come to if you have an easy enough name that says sports performance, great. Now I understand what that is, or fitness center or whatever. Like, start to use your website, start to use the other things to talk about the value that you provide people that's deeper than just I mean, if your website was, we have treadmills, we have ellipticals, we have free weights. Well,
Planet
everybody has
Fitness.
that. Right. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Right. Gotcha. Cool. All right, dude. Yeah, I know you're extremely busy, and it's the Friday before a long weekend, and your kids are probably ready to party along with you, and you have plenty to do. So we'll end up with the same set of questions I ask all my guests.
Mhm.
And these are all kind of like things which they're near and dear to my heart. Like, I'm a big quote guy, right? I
Yep.
love quotes. Like, I'm constantly looking at quotes, and I see the meme quotes, and from all these different athletes and all these different places. So if you had one quote which you always referred back to, what would that quote be? It could be regarding anything, a personal mantra or whatnot, but do you have a favorite quote?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a leadership guy, and I've just, love leadership quotes, but it wasn't until I became a story brand marketing guide and this thing was like spanned everything because it was leadership, it was marketing, it was messaging, it was life. And so Donald Miller says, if you confuse, you lose. If you confuse, you lose. And it's so easy and it's memorable that everything I do when I'm communicating with somebody else, if I confuse, I lose. When I'm parenting my two young kids, if I give them instructions and I confuse them, I lose them. If my personal conduct is confusing based on what I'm saying. So if I say, I love you, I care about you, I appreciate you, you can always talk to me, but then I don't live that way, I've now created confusion in their brain and I'm going to lose on that relationship. So whether it's marketing, whether it's leadership, whether it's parenting, just remember your brain is drawn to clarity and it's drawn away from confusion. So if you confuse people, you're going to lose people.
Wow, that's that's powerful, and it's so short. Um,
Right.
one of the other things I love from all the different interviews I do for the business performance podcast and my sports performance podcast is I get all these new quotes, and most of them I haven't heard before because there's just such an abundance of them. But
Mm-hmm.
that makes so much sense because even when it comes to coaching, right? So coaching movement, if I don't use words that the athlete can relate to,
Right.
I'm not going to fix their movement.
Right.
And so and not everybody responds to the same cues. So
Correct.
it's a battle to like work and have an arsenal
Yep.
of cues that each athlete can relate to because each athlete is an individual.
And I'll give
Um,
you a bonus one too, because this goes alongside of it, because I love that you said that, is communication is not information sent, it's information received. So that's why I love that if you confuse, you lose, because I could say the same thing to you as I could say to 10 other people. But if I confuse you and the other nine get it, then I'm losing you. So
right.
I need to communicate in a way that when you receive the information, you get it. And so just like you said, with coaching cues, with everything else, you might have to say something 10 different ways to 10 different people, but you have to put that work in if you want to win people over to either your mindset, your mantra, to helping them achieve, to, helping them integrate a habit, whatever it is.
Okay. Right. All right. So another thing is books, right?
Mhm.
And you have a nice bookshelf behind you. You have a couple books highlighted just from the ones standing up.
Yep.
And I probably can guess
Yeah, you
your
can guess
answer
them.
to this. But if you had to pick one book, right, that
Yeah.
you would recommend to anybody,
Mhm.
all right, to just for whatever the reason, what would that one book be and why?
Well, especially if you own a business, right back here behind my right shoulder
Yeah.
is building a story brand. That's the foundation. That's a foundational one. It's by Donald Miller. Yeah, you got it too. So it's right there. I would recommend that. That's how you start on everything. And so no matter what business you're in, it'll give you the fundamentals you need. As a bonus, Business Made Simple is a book that they just put out, and that's got basically a jumpstart guide on how to get your business going. And there's some supplementary things as well there that can help you out with
Is
that. But
that
those would be,
is that Donald Miller too? Business Made Simple?
yeah, same group and organization. And why I just love it because they are so clear and practical with their information. And I mean, I'm sure you get the same thing where Facebook or Instagram will target ads to you from all these different little fitness or business or marketing gurus that have some secret master plan that has confusing words and stuff. And it's just like, it's not that hard. I mean, the principles of communicating and running a business are simple, but
Mhm.
it takes a lot of work to actually do it effectively.
Right. Yeah, I get those all the time.
Mm.
They're interesting.
Right.
Everybody has a hack, and
And it's
they're
the same thing as in the fitness industry where somebody
right,
says, "Oh, eat this thing and you're going to lose, pounds, or wrap your belly this way and it's going to, reduce cellulite over here." And the people that know, that's just a bunch of quack, man, and that's not good. And they
right,
overcomplicate it because they're trying to make a buck. And so
right,
that's
right,
why I love those two books, because they really help you no matter what you do, no matter what stage of business you're in.
right, right. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the "keep it simple, stupid"
Yep.
motto.
Yep.
And that goes for every industry,
Uh-huh.
right? Because like 99% of the population will thrive with just the simple stuff. So, all right, the next question. This is another one, and this is really interesting to see the commonalities between all my guests. But what are Eric Williams' 3 keys to success?
So my personal mantra, and this is another thing, like if you subscribe to Business Made Simple, they have a course called Hero on a Mission, and it helps you build a life plan. And it's been transformational for me. I mean, I started doing this in my mid 30s, where you actually have to like write your eulogy and build back from there and say, what do you want people to say about you when you're gone? What do you want? Like, imagine your kids talking about you. Imagine your spouse. Imagine your coworkers. What do you want them to say about you? Okay, great. Now let's dial that back and say, in the next 10 years, if you have 10 years left, what do you have to do to get there? In the next 5 years, in the next year? Now, what do I have to do today? And it helps you break it down to a couple of key words and key phrases and things that you live by. So, personally, for my success, my biggest thing is to be generous. I know that if I'm generous with my time, if I'm generous with my resources, if I'm generous with my knowledge and abilities, then I know I'm going to win. And so that would be kind of the big thing, is be generous with your time, be generous with your resources, be generous with your knowledge and abilities. And I mean, I kind of boil it down to a quote from John Maxwell, where he says, you should look to provide value every day. So every day when I wake up, I think, how can I provide the most value to the people around me? Every time I have a conversation, I mean, I think that was one of the questions I asked you, was like, great, I would love to be on your podcast. What would provide the most value for your listeners? Because I just believe that I want to be around people that provide value and that are generous. And so if I want to be around those people, and if I want, to live that kind of life, then people are going to want to be around me. And, I, I may never make the kind of life that people who don't choose to do that and cut corners and, get rich quick, I may never do that. But at the end of my life, I know that I can keep my head up knowing that I've done things the right way because I've been generous and I want to provide value to others.
Awesome. All right, dude. Well, one last question.
Yep.
All right. And this basically is one that, one of those questions you can't prepare for, or, because it's all based upon how our conversation went.
Sure.
But if there was, you have a lot of knowledge and you have a lot of things which you can provide people. And as you just said, you want to provide value and you're very generous with your time and abilities. What was one question that I didn't ask, which you hoped I would ask, so you could provide that value to people for listening?
Yeah, I think specifically to your audience, if what is the biggest thing that coaches and business owners miss when it comes to actually running their business? What is their biggest blind spot? What's that area of self-awareness that they're just missing? That hole in their swing, so to speak. And it's so funny when I talk to people who are in the coaching industry, especially like physical fitness, because it's like your mentality when you get into sports performance, when you get into anything involving helping other people meet their goals, is so pure and so right on with exactly how you should run your business and exactly how you should market your business. But for some reason, we turn off that part of our brains when we go into running the business and when we go into marketing our business. And so we covered it a little bit, but in the same way as you would have to, you break down these complicated steps for your client into the small, easy ways to get around. I want to help somebody get a 30-inch box jump and they're 300 pounds overweight. Well, right now, we're going to put a little 6-inch box out there and you're going to take a step up there, right? You're going to help people because you have to customize what you're doing to the person in front of you, and you have to be their guide so they can succeed. You have to help them celebrate all of these things. And so I love working with fitness centers. I love working with coaches because you do all of the right things when you're actually operating with a client in front of you. Now you just have to look at that and apply that to your business because you have one of the biggest growth potentials because of the mindset you naturally have walking into owning your business. That's what I would say.
Cool. All right. Eric, this is awesome. Very informative. As always, every time I speak with you, I learn more stuff. I learned something new. Once again, I learned some new stuff today, even more so.
Yeah.
Very informative, interview for our listeners. Hopefully they have a lot of takeaways. How can people get hold of you, or if they wanted to, have you help them build their website or build their messaging better? How can they get hold of you?
Yeah. So my website's 212consultingservices.com. If you go to 212consultingservices.com/hello, it's very basic and easy. You could just click schedule a call right there. There's also access to the books and the resources that we talked about here. So if you don't really want to talk to me, but you're interested in reading a little bit about the book, you got a link right there. If you heard about Business Made Simple and you'd like to check that out, it's all right there on the website, 212consultingservices.com/hello. And if you decide to sign up for Business Made Simple, if you decide to sign up for the Story Brand live stream and you use the links that I provided there, send me a copy of your receipt to Eric@212consultingservices.com, and I will give you a free coaching session. So for anybody listening right now, you could do that. You can sign up for a free 30 minutes. Just let me know that you heard about us here from Judah, and I would be happy to go over some of the basic needs that you have in your business.
Awesome. Now, you're on the on Instagram, or are you LinkedIn or any of those?
Yeah.
Or?
So the business on Instagram, 212 Consulting, that's there. I've got, I'm actually putting out marketing, messaging, and leadership tips on TikTok for those of you that are on there too. It's Business Coach Eric. So you can reach me there as well. It's interesting the people that are on there. So Business Coach Eric on TikTok and 212 Consulting on Instagram.
Is there a lot of people looking for your help on TikTok?
You know what? I think the fun thing about TikTok is it makes you get your message out in 15 seconds to 60 seconds. So
Okay.
for me, it's trying to put information out there. There are a lot of like side hustlers on TikTok. There are a lot of, small business owners, things like that. And so if I can give them bite-sized marketing and messaging help and tips, that's great. But secretly, it just helps me be a lot more economical with my own words and my own messaging. So it's a great challenge.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm social media is a necessary evil,
Right.
one which I wish I never delved into.
Yep.
Just because
yeah.
it's because there's as many positives as many negatives for it.
Oh yeah,
But
for sure.
I've been staying away from TikTok. Just my dance moves nobody wants to see. So
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is I don't do any dancing. So if anybody's coming to look for dancing, they're not getting that. But I would encourage all your listeners to, every person needs a coach. And so if you're in business and you don't have a business coach, if you're a gym owner and you haven't talked to Judah about helping you, like every coach needs a coach, because you would tell your clients, man, you need accountability. You need somebody that can see you from the outside. So I would just encourage to reach out to somebody, whether you need marketing and messaging help, whether you need help running your gym. Every coach needs a coach. Do the same thing you would tell your clients.
Awesome. All right, Eric, thank you very much. And to our listeners, stay tuned for next week, where we have another exciting guest. And until then, this is coming up Memorial Day weekend. This isn't coming up Memorial Day weekend. We're filming this on Memorial Day weekend, but we'll be in touch soon, and hope you guys will catch you later. Thanks for listening to the No Risk Business Performance Podcast. Please be sure to check out the show notes for any information pertaining to our guests, as well as to how No Risk Business Performance can help your very small business. If you found the information useful, please be kind and share it with your friends who also own very small businesses, so they can benefit from the advice that our guests can provide. I'm your host, Judah Boulay. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you later.